A23 operation equipment. A general, the impossible to show all ports in the connection passageway to the graduating valve, the slide valve, seating of the any signal taken out of through the triple valve in figure 845 and 8 through 850 illustrates the purely diagrammatical relations of the various parts to each and other differential portions of the triple valve piston, the actual proportions, mechanically construction of the parts that disregarded whether necessary to make the connections operational more easily understood. B, the full release and charging position as shown by the figure 845, the brake pipe enters the triple valve through the passage A and E and cylinder caps of the part F and G through the chamber of F and the face of triple valve position. Thence through the feet of the groove I, now open to the chamber R of the slide valve, which is always free of the communication with the auxiliary reserve and airflow from. Here you see it in a direct exhaust in the top left-hand corner and through the high pressure position and its low pressure position and its slow direct exhaust. The brake pipe as auxiliary reserve is described and the pressure pipe becomes equally when it is lateral and fully charged. C, quickly surface and position. The first action of quickly surface application brake is obtained by the marking of gradual reduction in brake pipe pressure as soon as the pressure is chamber H at the sufficiently reducedly below in the chamber R. Otherwise, the triple valve position, the higher pressure is the auxiliary reserve side of the piston overcome the friction of the piston 4 that attached to the graduating valve of the 7 and moving these parts of the left until the shoulder on the end of the piston stem striking the right hand at the end of the piston slide valve 3. Later the end move to the left until the latter is then moved left until the piston strikes graduating stem 21 and the piston which held in the place of compression graduating spring 22. The parts of the valve are then posting shown in the figure 846 of the movement of the position 4 close to the feed groove and I, preventing the feed back into the brake pipe and auxiliary reserve at the same time the graduating valve opens. In 841, the auxiliary reserve valve release pressure. Then you see on 842 your branch T-pipe, your sectional view of the cutout cock, and a hose connection in 844. To the secondary action, at the secondary action, at the same time, the first movement of the graduation valve connects to the two ports of A, O, and Q. The sliding valve through the cavity V and the graduation valve, the movement of the slide valve, the bring to the port O to the register, the port Y, and the slide valve C to the port Q to the port T. Consequently, in the air in the chamber Y flows through the port of Y, U, V, Q, and T. There. Hence around the emergency 8 and fits closely to the cylinder of the chamber X of the brake cylinder. The pressure in the chamber Y the reduces below the brake pipe pressure remaining of the A checks the valve in the 15 is raised and allows the portion mentioned above the brake cylinder. The size of these ports proportioned that the flow of the air of the brake pipe in the top emergency of the 8 is not sufficiently to the force of later downward, thus causing an emergency application, but at the same time enough in the air and taken through the brake pipe to cause a definite local reduction of the brake pipe pressure that the point is transmitted in the manner next to triple valve in and next to in turn next to the increase of the rapidly within which brake pipe reduction travels through the train. D, the full service position when the short trains when the brake pipe of the volume being comparatively small, the pressure will be reduced rapidly for a certain reduction at the brake pipe valve is within long trains. When certain circumstances it might be expected that any reduction at a triple valve, which in quick service feature would bring about so much rapid brake reduction as to cause a quick action in an emergency application, which only a little application was intended. The emergency application is explained later, but the automatically prevented by the triple valve itself. Figure 846 is noted that the quick service position port Z of the valve port R of the service does not fully register there. Nevertheless, opening the sufficient allow to the airflow of the auxiliary reserve of the brake cylinder sufficient rapidity to pressure in the auxiliary reserve is the fastest the pressure reducing is the brake pipe within the straining of the considering left in the brake pipe reduction of the more rapid the auxiliary reserve, which can be caused in the short trains or difference in pressure of the two sides of the piston 4 as soon as it becomes sufficient is slightly compresses the graduating spring and moves the slide valve. The release of the charging position, you see the pressure retaining valve with an exhaust heading to the variable release valve through a triple K valve, and then it's backed up by a Type C combined cylinder with a reserve, headed from the triple K valve into a central dirt collector cutout cock into a branch pipe T with dual-sided angle cocks and housing couplings for releasing and charging positions. This is a type figure 846 is a quick service type of a type triple K. To the position is shown in 847 called the full service position. Quick service port and Y is closed if there are no air flows of the brake pipe is in the brake cylinder. Their brake pipe reduction sufficiently rapidly is needed. There is no need for additional quick service reduction, and triple valve automatically cuts out the feature and valve that is not required, although the full service portion of Z and R are fully allowing the auxiliary reserve pressure to reduce it more rapidly, so keeping the pace with more rapid braking pipe and reduction. The lap position, the brake pipe reduction ceases the air continues the flow of the auxiliary reserve through the Z and R brake cylinder until the brake pressure of the R brake comes enough to less than the brake cylinder pipe pistons for graduating valve 7 to move right until the shoulder of piston stem strikes the left end of the slide valve 3. The friction piston graduating valve is much more less than the slide valve. The difference of pressure of the move position graduating valve and sufficient move to all three of the consequently piston stop of the shown in figure 848. The movement caused by graduating the closed Z, the cutting off any of the further of air, the auxiliary reserve of the brake cylinder, any port of the zero, preventing further of the air of the brake pipe through the quick service ports, and consequently no further air pressure can occur in piston called lap, and because of all ports. Another show through the triple K valve and the position lap is because of the ports that are taped that is closed. The figure for 848 shows that the parts' quick service lap position is seen as the exact position in the slide valve 3. The lap position depends on whether the previous position is quick service 846 and the full service 847. The former lap position assumed for the quick service lap position of 848. The slide valve has previously moved to the full service position. However, the lap position assumed by the full service lap position for 847, the graduating valve moved back to the plank port Z and O is slide valve. The shoulder position stem in the contact left end of the valve 3 is shown in figure 848, and the desire to the heavier application further reduction brake pressure is made of the operation described and repeated until the auxiliary reserve and brake cylinder pressure becomes equal. For their further brake pipe reduction, it was only a waste air about 20 pounds brake of the pipe reduction with it will give the auxiliary equalization with 70 pounds brake pipe pressure 8-inch piston travel. F, the retarded release of the charging position, and one the auxiliary reset pressure. K, the triple valve has two release positions: full release and retarded release. The position is the parts will move in the train when brake. The release depends on how the brake pipe pressure is increased by the relating of the auxiliary reserve pressure. Already explained. It will also known as that the freight train's engine man releasing the brakes rapidly, and the brake pressure increases on the car. Depends on the position of the cars and the train through those cars that front to receiving the air first within the brake pipe pressure rapidly raised more rapidly than those with the old apparatuses, which are due to the two things on which friction pipe of the fact of the auxiliary reserve in the front of the being the recharging that intends to reduce the pressure is observing the quantity of air and holding in the back of the flow of the front of the rear of the train. The retarded release feature of the K triple valve rule comes the second point mentioned, taking advantage from the first while doing so. The friction of the brake pipe causes the pressure to build up more rapidly at chamber H of the triple valve and toward from the front end of the train and in the front of at the rear. As soon as the pressure is enough, the greater the auxiliary reserve pressure remaining in the chamber R with the application described to overcome the piston graduating valve, the slide valve from three are moved and toward until the piston stem of the retarding 31 and later is held by the piston spring 33. If the rate of the increase of the brake pipe pressure is small, as is for example the car is near the rear for is the rate increases the brake pipe pressure as small as, for the example, for the cars at the rear of the train, it will be impossible to raise the pressure in the chamber H 3 pounds higher than the auxiliary reservoir. This is another. This is in position of the triple K, in a retarded release and recharging position. The void on an account of flow of air of the chamber H through the feed groove of the auxiliary reserve, which is undergoing at the same time the triple valve ports at the remaining of the position, as shown by the 845 brake cylinder exhaust port, AR, the large cavity and sliding of the P and the atmosphere, or the retaining auxiliary recharges to describe in full release and the charging. If, however, the triple valve is near the head of the train, the brake pipe pressure builds up more rapidly than the auxiliary reserve can recharge. Necessarily, excessive pressure of the chamber H at the end of the auxiliary reserve will be attained quickly, will cause the position to compress and retard spring and 33 movement of the retraining triple valve in position will shown in figure 849. 2. The retarded release. Exhaust cavities and slide valve not connects to the R and leading the brake cylinder of the port P. The atmospheric brake will release but in the same small tail part extension of the cavity and in the exhaust port of P, discharge in the air of the brake cylinder. Atmosphere is quite as slow as in the waves of the air brake of the brakes in front of the end of the train required the long time release of the than those rear. This features the retarded release in all those triple valves. Locomotives commence of the release before those in the rear of the exhaust into the air of the brake cylinder. The retarded release of the sufficient slow of the back hold back the brakes of the frequently end of the train long enough for the practically simultaneously release of the brakes as the whole the permits of the release on the brakes on. Very long trains are a lower speed without danger as a severe shock or breaking is than possible without feature, or breakable or breaking to than impossible without this feature. 3. The triple valve position feed groove. At the same time of the back of the triple piston is the contact of the end of the slide valve bush as the two surfaces grounded the accurate fit in the piston makes is tightly sealed the end of the bush except at one point where the feed groove is not shown in the diagramics. The cut out piston to allow the pass and around the end of the slide valve bush of the chamber R, the auxiliary reserve. The feed groove is much similar than those standard feed of the groove F, groove T to the piston bush soon, so that when the triple valve position of the retarded release position, the recharged auxiliary reserve takes place so much as more slowly than when it is fully released position. This is piston service seat firmly against the gasket is shown. Feed groove is larger in the K2 than in the K1 triple valve so as to maintain proper rate of recharge. The prospective auxiliary reserve is retarded release in position. G. Emergency position quick action is caused by sudden considerable reduction in the brake pipe pressure below the auxiliary reserve. No matter how caused, the fall in brake pressure causes differences in pressure on the two sides of the piston. 4. Increases very rapidly, so that the time position travel in the full service position. Also already explained that the sufficiently higher pressure on the auxiliary reserve side of the travel position is to cause the compressed graduation spring of 22 forcing back the stem and to spring until figure 8 until in figure 850 the resulting movement of the slide valve opens the port T of the slide valve seats, allow air for the auxiliary to flow on the top of the emergency position 8, forcing the lower ladder downward opening emergency valve. The pressure in chamber Y being there through there instantly relieved, allowing brake pipe to raise the check valve. And 15, rapidly chamber Y and X to the brake cylinder until the brake cylinder and brake pipe pressure nearly equalize in valve and forcing the seat of the check valve spring, preventing the pressure cylinder and the escaping backing into the brake piping. Again, the emergency valve and being held, opening the emergency position, consequently returning to the seat of the auxiliary reserve. Braking cylinder pressure nearly equalized at the same time. The port S is in the sliding register of the port R, and in the slide valve seat and allows air to the auxiliary reserve. The brake cylinder, both sides of the S and R, comparatively light air gets thoroughly through them. Before the brake pipe has stopped venting at the brake cylinder, the sudden discharge of the brake pipe and the brake cylinder is the same effect of next type triple valve as would be caused by similar discharge of the brake pipe as an atmosphere, and in this way, the triple valve causes the next to assume the emergency position, thus giving a quick and full application of the all brakes. The release of all of emergency is affected exactly the same manner as service application, but these require long time other than higher brake cylinders, auxiliary pressure, and lower brake pressures. 824 general. The movable parts of the triple valve should never be removed while it's on its car. Not working properly, needs cleaning or oiling, taking down or replacing it by valve good condition. All cleaning and oil should be done on a bench competent mechanic. Whether liability damage or internal parts of the valve is at least any of the attempt to take a triple valve apart while still on the car is almost surely to result in a large percent of the valves being injured. Careless handling by dirt getting inside the pipes of the valve, and if the repairs are necessary, such as the triple valve, should be returned to the shops for that purpose. Be retaining the valve. The retaining valve should be standing vertically to that there should be no obstruction of the removal of the caps. It should be located as the freely accessible for the train and is in motion. It should be cleaned but not oiled every time the remainder of the air brake equipment receives the attention, but in the connection pipe should be secured, and not little flexible should be provided in the pipe leading to and from triple valve. The wasp excluder, if used, should be removed of the retaining valve during the usual braking cleaning valve. Retaining valve pipe blowing out of the wasp excluder should be replaced in the retaining valve. Just see the braking cylinder lubrication one assembly, closing the brake pipe, cut out cock, draining auxiliary reserve, fastening the hollow position non-pressure headed together with the cotter pin through the provided in the hollow rod, but within a suitable clamp, removable the nuts from the non-pressure head bolts, and remove the position of the cylinders to the cleaning cylinder, scrape the old lubricating cylinder wall, leakage groove of the wiped surface, and cleaning and dry. Kerosene may be used in assisting cleaning cylinder cleaning, but should be completely removed in preventing damages in cylinder gasket and packaging cup. And if the cylinder wall is resulted in, should be removed as sandpaper. 3. Cleaning piston and packaging cup removable, expandable if used in piston scrapable under lubricating metal part of the packaging using a dull edged and round ender scraper like case knife, and wipe all surfaces clean and dry. The packaging cup and carefully be examined and should be renewed as if brittle and any port and cut cracked otherwise defective. Examined in piston and follower plate of the cracked tighten up follower plate nuts. 4. Applying new packaging cups. Examining follower studded in the tightness of the piston, locating the packaging cup center of the piston, placing the follower piston and applying the nuts, bringing them into contact with the follower without tightening, then drawing them up down the uniform. 5. Application of the lubricating, applicating coating of the brake cylinder, lubricating the wall of the cylinders outside of the package coat of the cup of the brush. The 60. Assembling the piston should be stood on the end of the top edge of the flat side of the non-pressure head flange, opening the expanding ring or if used in top toward workman, while the piston is if in position entering the cylinder. If the sleeve of the rod in the slowly raised and the piston moved into the cylinder up into the upper portion of the packing cup and engages it. The cylinder wall from the portion of the cylinder which in the sleeve rod of the beginning gradually raised and taking special care of not to be crimped or otherwise damaged, and packing up then pulling outward on the sleeve rod until the hazardous position pushes the piston of the release position of the raises the sleeve rod to the top cylinder to determine whether the expander, if used in the proper position, which will be indicated in the freedom of the movement. D. The triple valve lubrication. 1. The lubrication. Ordinary surface conditions. The triple valve thoroughly cleaning and lubricated every 15 months. The proper intervals best determined in each particular case of a careful inspection travel where conditions are severe and triple valve exposed to extreme weather, dirt, and etc. More frequently, inspection would no doubt be found necessary with the valve and protected by subjected to the hard usage of the internal interval may be, and remove all dirt, oil, gum, greases, benzene, gasoline, and other approved fluid. It can be used for other purposes. are used for this purpose. The piston bay packaging ring and groove should be cleaned, and removing the ring and piston groove, and this can be done by dipping in the position and cleaning of the fluid and moving through the ring and the groove. The operation should be repeated until the groove ring is thoroughly cleaned, and without including excessive cleaning. Fluid can be blown away and dried by using the air jet, loosening the rings, where the rings are stuck into dirt to move in the groove. It may be necessary to soak the ring in penetrating oil, then tap the ring clearly out of the hard block. For this purpose of the maple, the hard block wooden blocking about 1 by 4 inches square ends that should be into the tap ring, and so that the drive is flush in the top edge of the groove. This is tapping is shown to be at the end of the ring joint. Progressive the position short steps and up until the ring is procedurally and will not loosen the ring. It is evident that the groove is binding, in which the groove must be conditioned and new ring fitted. 3. Glazing valve. The face of the graduating valve of the upper surface of the slide valve, of which graduating valve seats of the slide valve face the slide valve seat. The upper portion of the bushing of the slide valve bearing must be glazed with the best grade of the very fine pure of the air brake graphite. To apply the graphite will be convenient. Small wooden paddle about 8 inches long and having a small piece of the Casmos glued and paddle in. The width of the paddle must be somewhat less than the width of the slide valve and seat of the bushings, in place of the small quantity of the graphite Casmo skins, and rub the surface of specified until the specific show dark copper color. There must be not free of graphite if allowed for the remaining of the valves. They must be free of any of the oil grease before the graphite is applied. For the oil position before the clean piston is replaced in the piston bushing, press the side of the packaging ring opposite of the scarf, but bottom to the groove, and introducing 3 drops of approved triple valve oil. The groove of the ring scarf opening opening after the restoring of the ring under the normal position. Carefully rotated the groove, distributes the oil piston from the ring scarf approximately 1 inch either side of the piston top of the center, next to the 3 drops of the triple valve oil that in the cleaning for the drying the bushing, distributing over the entire surface of the manner, introducing dirt or other and then inserting the piston inside valve in the body, leaving the release of the portion, after which is placed the 3 additional drops of the triple valve oil in the cylinder bushing, and again is distributing it on the bushing surfaces and previously described. No lubricating should be used in the quick action parts. 825 general information of the carman and trackman. Releasing the brake, releasing any individual brake by means of releasing the brake of the auxiliary reserve. The brake pipe being charged and release of the valve should be held on only until the exhaust is heard to start. In this way, the auxiliary reserve pressure is reduced below in the brake pipe. The piston will go to a retarded position, and the release will be slower. There is no air in the brake pipe. The brake must be released by holding the release valve holding the release valve open until air has escaped. When it is found necessary to cut out the brake, we'll close the cutout cock brake pipe branch and bleed the auxiliary reserve. Road troubles. 1. The common defects. The most serious defects that might cause trouble in the road are leaky side valve, leaky check valve case gaskets, leaky triple valve body gaskets, and leaky emergencies valves. Leaky main piston packaging ring, leaky auxiliary reserve tube, broken graduating springs. 2. Air leaks. A blow from the triple valve exhaust indicates a leak, so either of the brake pipe auxiliary reserve determined which cut out the closing of the brake pipe with the brake branch pipe cut out. If the brake applies and any of the blowout stops indicates the leaks of the brake pipe and blows continue to the brake does not apply, it indicates a leak of the auxiliary reserve. An auxiliary reserve blows that cause the leaky slide valve and triple valve body gasket. The auxiliary reserve, the leaky slide valve also usually will cause a blow when triple valve is either released or application position, while leaky body gasket auxiliary reserve will cause blow only when the triple valve is in a release position. A brake pipe is caused by either a leaky is either called by a leak or emergency valve or check valve gasket. A leaky position packaging may prevent the breaking of the applying of the lightly reduction of a long trapping and applied, and to prevent a proper release. 3. Broken springs. A broken graduating spring may cause an undesired quicker to action depending on the condition of the triple valve and the rate of the brake pipe reduction. If the triple valve is dry and gummy and the brake pipe is reduced to rapid through the leakage, otherwise quick action to the source, almost sure of the result. B. A broken retarding permits the triple valve piston in the retard release position, causing the slow release to the brake. See the valve buzzing. The triple valve is good in condition with continuous buzz. A continuous buzz indicates the emergency valves leaking in case of the low triple valve exhaust, and may exist remedy by jarring a triple valve and lightly nearing the emergency valve. Emergency by the parting of the hose, opening the angle of the cock quickly. The release of the brake, connecting the hose and the repeating operating if necessary. This is made to dislodge the dirt and allow the valve to seat properly. If the valve cannot be forced to seat, the defect should be reported for correction. Section 6. Special purposes.